The Jacksonville Jaguars leave Las Vegas without a victory. We know how that is. A lot of people lose in Vegas all the time. We'll talk about it here on Locked On Jaguars on a POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. A quick reminder, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you tap in, whether you watch them or you listen to them. Locked On Jaguars will be there, wherever that location is. Make sure you tap in so you do not miss an episode. Shout out to the everydayers for joining us, as you always do here on Locked On Jaguars. I'm Tony Wick, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast, as Jacksonville goes out to Las Vegas. And the result is what the result has been for a lot of the Jaguars this year. They played 15 games and 12 of them they've lost. And they lost again today, 19-14. We'll discuss that today, discuss a little bit about the way the game went. But more than anything, the second half of the show will be about let it all in, man, please. And when I say let it in, I don't necessarily mean these games being played. The Jaguars are a bad team. They're also a finesse team. They're bad at being a finesse team, and it shows. They're not, in the day and age of these games being more and more physical, they are not that. We'll discuss that. But we'll start at the top. They lose to the Raiders. Two bad teams. Don't want to hear anything about the fact that they were playing without Trevor Lawrence because the Raiders were playing with their third quarterback. They were pretty much healthy on the offensive line across the board, healthy in the running back situation. All their receivers, with the exception of Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis, and that's obviously big, and Evan Ingram were out. But they were playing another bad team today, and they did not do the things that they needed to do to close out the game and win. This is where looking at a stat sheet won't tell you everything, because Mac Jones was 25 for 39 for 247 and 1 touchdown. You go, it doesn't sound bad. I didn't think he played well watching the game and not just looking at stats. Tank Bigsby, 12 carries, 50 yards, 1 touchdown, but he also fumbled. Travis Etienne, 9 for 22. Brian Thomas Jr. had another big game. He is obviously all that we all hoped he would be and everything that he's advertised to be. 9 catches, 131 yards, and 1 touchdown. Nothing really to shake a stick at. Mason Smith did show up and have a sack. Eric Armstead got his second sack of the season. That was good to see. Probably a little bit too late for a lot of y'all's liking. In terms of the Raiders, the Jags allowed 24 out of 38 for 257. They didn't give up much in the run. Brock Bowers is as good as advertised, 11 catches for 99 yards. So this basically came down. And by the way, K'Lavon Chaisson did get a sack. Okay, got a sack and almost had an interception against his former team. But you know, the takeaway from all of this is that Jacksonville's just bad. They're not good, man. This is one of the worst teams in the league, and they lined up and played against them and looked like one of the worst teams in the league. This time of year, when I know everybody's looking for silver linings and they're playing a lot of young dudes, trying to get those young guys some experience, but it's just where we are when you look at these competitive games with Pittsburgh and KC and Houston and Pittsburgh. And then earlier I saw Washington and Philly, and I'm thinking, like, I cannot wait for this team to play meaningful football that way. I saw Minnesota come walk down Seattle late in the game, and I'm thinking, why can't we do that? Why can't we be blessed to be in this position at this point in the season and be playing good football like that? And when I watch the Jaguars, I'm looking for silver linings. I'm looking for like young guys who are showing something. I'm looking for Mason Smith. I'm looking for Monterey Brown. And those are the things that I said coming into the game that I wanted y'all to watch out for. Some of them played well. It doesn't mean that just because you play okay and you play well that you're the answer. And I think people need to be clear about that. They played well, showed a nice little showing, if you can, for themselves, but they still lost, and they were doing this against one of the worst teams in the league. So how do we ever get to go from that watching football for those reasons and watching that result, how do we go from there? What are the big steps that we have to take to get to that next step, to get to that step where we're watching meaningful football, where the games actually do mean a whole bunch and the teams are all yoked up and the situational football is very, very complimentary, because the Jaguars aren't there right now. With all due respect, they just are not there. They are not close to it. And I saw a graphic. I saw the graphic today that they lost 8 games, more games than anybody else by 1 touchdown. It doesn't matter. That's like saying a boxer lost a whole bunch of 10-9 rounds and then he gets unanimous decision every time he fights. It does not matter that they were competitive. They didn't win. They didn't win. I think they're poorly coached. I don't think they're poorly built. And obviously this means, for me, at some point, man, they got to do something. Shaw can't look at this and think that he has the people in the building that could change this. Bad and finesse. I'll tell you why it's so bad for them to be a finesse team right now, and why I believe it ties into them figuring out how they're going to change. If not, they're going to have a whole bunch of the same stuff. We'll talk about that and more here on a postcast edition of Locked On Jaguars. 1914, the Jaguars lose in Vegas and head home. Hopefully their pockets ain't empty like most people that use Vegas. I really, really doubt it. We'll talk about all that more here in just a second in the second half of the postcast edition of Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Prize Picks. If you love watching the game, you're going to love Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy, whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports. Prize Picks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. Now, you can win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30 million in rewards during Pixmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. This week, I was thinking that Jared Goff could probably go over 230 yards, and maybe Saquon can get one more touchdown. See how quick and simple that is, and so much fun to challenge myself and my friends. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you play just $5. Prize Picks, run your game. Today's show is brought to you and sponsored by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get on the regular season action now with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if you first bet $5. That's right. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each will score for their team. It's thrilling. Example, look, which player is going to score a touchdown, how many points each team will score, and so much more. All of these things are so much a part of FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, man, we're rolling along here on a postcast edition of Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day. I mentioned that this team, in my opinion, after the 1914 loss to the Raiders today, of course, I felt this way the whole time. And I wasn't the only one that felt this way. Trent Baalke has felt this way. Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson said that they needed to get bigger and stronger in the trenches. I don't think they are soft individuals. I do believe they have a finesse mentality. I think it comes from the coaching staff, and it comes from how they're built. They're a finesse team. And for a team that builds itself and talks about traits and all of these things and probably overemphasizes that a little bit, I'm just amazed at the fact that they seem to not – it's not that they get bullied. It's not that people are more physical than them. It's just that they aren't built to be more physical than other people. they match everybody, or sometimes there's a team or two that's more physical than them, but they don't have a mentality where they could just go dominate games when they need to dominate games. And because I don't think they're built to do it. I really don't. I do not think or believe that they are built to be the kind of team that you have to be. And this is why this is so important. In today's game, if you go around the league and you look at the teams that are busting people upside of their head, they are teams that are absolutely physical. They are teams that punch you in the face. They are teams that beat you when they have to, and they can stop you from doing it. At some point, even if things aren't going correctly, they can dial something up and use their physicality to get them through, and they won't let you get away with that stuff. And I think the Jaguars have a long way to go. And this is why I think they need to change courses, because what they're going to do if they don't change courses, what they're going to do is they're going to continue to add. They're going to always feel like they're almost there. They're just going to give what they have a little tune-up, like they did when they changed the defensive coaches, right? Oh, we just need to tweak it a little bit. They're gonna keep this same stuff. Now that doesn't mean that I don't believe that they should keep a lot of the pieces, and that they have some very, very valuable pieces. We'll go through that this week, but I don't want them to just have a little bit of an attitude adjustment. I don't want them to have a situation where we say, okay, we have to onboard guys better, or we just have to keep guys fresh, or we just have to keep our line together. That we heard all of that already, right? So what would they be telling you now? If you kept them honestly, what would they do? I think that's Monday's show right there. Monday's show is, if you keep them, what is going to change? And if it does change, how can other than a facelift? I ain't talking about facelift. This ain't about you going to get a haircut. This ain't about you getting a BBL, a football BBL. This is about you getting your butt up and working out all the bad stuff that's a part of you. And I just don't think that these guys believe. Doug has said all year, they've done a nice job. They've done a nice job. The person I've heard Doug criticize more than anybody is Trevor Lawrence. And he hasn't really been critical. It's just that he hasn't really come out and defended Trevor Lawrence the way that you would think, or he would. It was always, no, you just got to play better. He's the quarterback. He's this and he's that. But now we see this team has so many more warts. I hope the national folks that sit here and say that Trevor ain't this and Trevor ain't that, what is Trevor supposed to do with this team? What is Trevor Lawrence really supposed to? And I'm not sitting here saying that the Jaguars shouldn't look different without Trevor than they do with Trevor. Of course they should. That's ludicrous. They are a bad football team without Trevor. Most teams would be bad football teams without their starting quarterback, or they'd be a much worse football team without their starting quarterback. If you look at the Jaguars and you think Trevor Lawrence is the only problem that they have, or he is the main problem, I really think you need to get your glasses fixed. Go to a football optometrist or something and tell him you need an adjustment, because he is not the problem. Trevor Lawrence not being here should have, when you see this product on this field, this should tell y'all, man, this is what this dude was almost getting victories with. And when he falls short, the national people just want to sit and blame it on him. You can't do it anymore. I don't think Trevor Lawrence really has had the benefit of knowing or having or feeling what it's like to have the things that you're supposed to be able to win with in the National Football League, in terms of the people in the huddle with him, in terms of the coaches with the headsets, and in terms of the front office and the GM. I really believe that, like, he's been shorted. He's been slighted since he got into the league. The Jaguars have one of the best practice facilities. They got approval for a new stadium. It's like buying a new house and a new car, right? You feel me? With all the amenities. They need to clean their house inside out before. Don't move all of this stuff into that new future. You can't do it, man. They got to clean it. They got to clean it. You got to gut this thing and start completely over and bring new juice in. We're going to discuss that all week also on Locked On Jaguars. As we tell you who, y'all already know who I'm loving on and trying to get to be the head coach, but they really, really, really do. I hope Shai can look at it and see it for what it is that this thing needs to be totally, totally rebooted. That was a bad football team they played against today, and they looked terrible again. I had no expectations for them to look better. Look, there's a couple of games left, man. They're 3-12. They played the Colts on the road, and then they also play the Titans. So good luck to them. I hope they keep playing hard. I hope the young guys keep showing good tape. But as of right now, man, I'm just ready for this thing to end like most Jaguar fans are. We'll talk all about it this week here on Locked On Jaguars. We'll discuss the coaching staff. We'll discuss potential hires. We'll discuss people to keep. We got a lot of stuff to unpack, but it is pretty clear to me that the Jaguars need to not unpack, but pack up a whole bunch of people that have a whole bunch to do with how bad this football team is right now. All right, we'll talk to you guys this week here on Locked On Jaguars. Make sure you tap in. See you later.